Thank you to Mr. Gary Ng. Um, Hang on, let me see if I can uncheck this. Hold on. Okay. Okay, thank you to Mr. Gary Ng, CEO of viAct, and you'll be the first speaker for today's webinar. You'll be talking about AI monitoring for construction safety. This is part of the webinar series for the International Building Design Competition this year, 2021. After your session, we will have a short Q&A before we proceed on to Mr. Dean. Dean is actually, Mr. Dean Reinhardt is actually an evangelist and technical account manager for Southeast Asia Epic Games. Okay, so that will be the second speaker for today. So each session will last for about, including the Q&A, will be about 30 minutes. Right, so for those who's attending now, you can feel free to ask the speakers anything after their session. All right, so this session is recorded, and this will be posted in the IBDC website together with the computation.space website. Okay, so all yours, Mr. Gary Ng.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. So just is the screen okay? Is my presentation show on the screen?
Yes, it is showing. Okay, your screen is showing. Thank you.
So hi everyone. My name is Gary. I'm the CEO of viAct. Today, it's actually very happy to have this opportunity to share with all of you for some of the latest technologies that we try to deploy for the construction safety. So today we are talking about the using AI technologies to help us to automate the monitoring. So before we started, I just want to give everyone more like a big pictures of what the AI technology status for the construction deployment. So there are three major areas that for the AI technologies we try to deploy for the construction site today. So some offers like applications are relating to project scheduling, because we all know that the construction industry are facing a lot of challenge to meet project deadline, to clear up our scheduling better so that we can speed up or expedite the construction progress. So by using AI, collecting various key input from different projects and consolidate all this data eventually processed by the AI models, we can optimize the project schedulings and the time. So this is one key use case that will be deployed in most of the construction projects, as we can see in the soon future. The second one would be like what we talk about today, would be like the key topics, using image recognitions and computer vision technologies to try to extract meaningful data from the construction site using CCTV cameras or IP cameras, so that we can extract very variable digital data to understand and solve some of the safety issue, to solve some of the productivity issues that we are facing, which was unprecedented, and also cannot be solved like by any other technologies today. And the third part would be using some IoT analytics platforms that you can also collect a lot of different data points through different IoT sensors, and eventually using AI to process and actually trying to predict what's going to happen through these IoT analytic sensors, and prevent some of the maintenance issue and some of the downtime issues that will happen in the construction site. So why we want to look at construction to deploy latest technology? Because construction is actually very, very big and massive industry. So last year it was about like 10 trillion USD market size. So it is like the second largest market after the financial market in the world. But most of the construction company only make 2% profit. So actually for them, the major barriers is that the labor cost, the materials cost, and the logistic costs keep increasing, and the productivity is not increasing. So there are three major problems that today we have for the construction industry: productivity issue, project delay, and workplace injury. For productivity, when we compare the figures with other similar industries, such as like manufacturing, we find that the manufacturing industry has increased more than 70% in productivity, but construction has not increased like any numbers, because we have we're not able to deploy a lot of like digital solutions. We are not able to transform some of the existing process to automations using robotic, and this creating a huge loss around 1,600 billion USD loss. And second part is the project delay. If you look across like most of the construction projects today, maybe in Singapore or in other major city, we are facing a huge problem for project delay because the scheduling keep postponing. There's a lot of like unpredicted events that happen in the construction process. And usually those projects that got delayed would usually have a cost increase more than 80%. And third part is like the workplace injury. So construction is ranked as one of the highest rate of accidents that will happen in any workplace industry. And each workplace fatal injury can cost the construction company or the whole project around 1 million USD. So it is like a very, very major barriers for the industry to move forward. So a good technologies that we have today is using AI. Basically collect a lot of the data using different AI models to predict, to understand what's happening in the construction process or operation. And today we are talking about how to use AI to automate the construction monitoring. Because in AI part, we do have like two major technologies that being kind of like nurtured in the marketplace. First one is computer vision using image recognition technique. Second would be the NLP, so using text analytics to understand what people are saying or they are texting. For computer vision, it is quite easy for us to extract the data from the construction site because today we already have like a lot of the CCTV and IP cameras already installed. So we did a survey as well around in the world. 80% of the construction sites already have real-time monitoring, either by a human or by CCTV, IP cameras that they install in the construction site. And so by using AI, basically we are just extracting those available existing videos that already extracted and using AI to process to understand what's happening in the video and using those data to improve the productivity, safety, and quality issue we have. Today, everything is done by human. So either the officers or the engineers need to walk around the construction sites to observe what's happening, or you are having a person sitting in the control center to look at all the different monitors to understand what's happening. But by doing that, it's actually very time-consuming, not accurate, and also having a delay in response as well. So using AI, it makes a lot of sense for us actually to automate the whole process because the accuracy can be higher than human, but also all the data can be recorded, can be analyzed further after you have all this data on hand. For today, if you try to deploy AI monitoring, so for our company, we are focusing in three major categories. Things that relating to worker safety, relating to productivity issues of the workers, relating to big machines, big vehicles that exist in the construction site, the operation status of those machinery and equipments, and also we are looking at different materials that different type of materials arrive in the construction site, different security measures that we can implement there, but also some construction waste management. So just give everyone some ideas like what exactly we can do for using AI monitoring for construction. So giving you some common examples or common use case in the industry today, looking at, for example, safety. So here's a video that we can showcase like how we can implement it. Basically having existing cameras that install, using some of the AI solutions like our products here, we can easily identify who is not wearing a safety helmet, who is not wearing a safety jacket or safety harness. And after we have extracted these information, then we can send to the safety manager or some construction managers to improve their safety management. And all these data are extracted to cloud and being processed and also pushed to different dashboard data points. And it can be connected to other platforms as well, such as the BIM model, right? So you get extra layers of data that you can further analyze, like where's the exact locations of these events will happen, and at what time, and all this log data after you stored it and saved, then you can do a lot of different analytics. And the other very common use case we have for AI monitoring is basically trying to protect the workers from entering some unauthorized danger zone. So because in the construction site, there's a lot of areas that is quite dangerous for the workers to actually enter, or they need special permits to go into it. So how we monitor it actually today is extremely hard. Basically, you need to have a standby person to witness what's happening there at that specific area. But using AI, everything become automated. So the kind of accidents that we try to avoid, hope that you guys can see this video here. It is a little bit slow. Yeah, maybe let me just try to push it to the next one. Sorry, can you guys see my screen? Yeah, sorry. So let me just go back to the full screen again. Yeah, so how we apply the AI monitoring for the danger zone? Basically, for this kind of large machinery, we have fixed cameras that mounted on different areas around the machines, and looking at the zones that we predefined actually on the platforms or on the cameras, and we can identify if the workers entering the zone. We just give a very real-time alert to the workers, but also to the safety managers, so that they can anticipate what's going to happen. And for AI, one of the key thing is that everything is recorded with the video. So the good thing about it is actually you are using video. Video means that you have many different kinds of pictures, and each pictures have a lot of different data points, and you are detecting different objects as well. So by using AI, it's actually better in most of the applications comparing to use IoT devices, because in IoT, it means that you need to implement some sensors with the workers or with the equipment. And it is extremely hard sometimes. Practically, you try to deploy it actually in a real construction site environments, because the workers may feel uncomfortable with the sensors, and sometimes just doing the operations and maintenance with those IoT devices can cause some difficulty in the operations as well. So, but using AI, basically everything is really intrusive. It's actually very non-intrusive way to take the data out, actually to understand what's happening. And you are measuring thousands of data points at the same time, so it really suits the construction environments, because a lot of things is dynamically happening in the construction areas. Okay, just 1 second. I think there's some issue with my computer again. Maybe it's better for me to just switch back to this mode here. And also, if you can see here, some of the AI detections that we can do are actually trying to fit into the real construction operations. So using humans to input or update the danger zone is kind of not fit into the construction current operations. So we can also use AI to detect the traffic cone, and by having those traffic cones locations, then we can update the danger zone. And this is a good way, because today they are already using traffic cones to trying to map different areas, or trying to restrict people from entering a specific area. So using cameras to actually do these automatic updates really fits the operations of the construction as well. And also we have another module, some more danger zone applications, which is on machinery. So what it does is you have the whole AI processing on the machine. So basically you are empowering those machines to be able to visualize what's going to happen around them and send alerts if, let's say, if a person is walking too close, a traffic cone is getting too close to the machines. So there are many different things that you can do once you install the cameras actually on those machinery as well. So here's an example, like I'm not so sure if you can just read the video because it takes a little bit longer time. Do apologize, maybe my PC having some problems now, and because it is like going to the team. But basically, you see the person is like coming into a line. So this is like a predefined line for people not being too close to the machines. And once they get too close, then the alert will still pass. And this is a good way for you to prevent any accidents because a lot of the machines are getting too close to humans and sometimes they're just not paying attention, so it crashes. And this is like one very common issues that happens in the construction sites. And for this kind of like application, it also requires some hardware to support as well, because in the construction environments, a lot of the areas maybe they do not have power supply, they do not have internet access, then you need a local device to support the AI processing. So here we have another example here. So basically trying to use AI to detect the gesture of the workers or the operators of a big machines, which is called the tower crane. It's a common big lifting machines in the construction site. And these operators is controlling these tower cranes to move around to lift different objects. And it is very, very important for us to know if the person is falling asleep, not paying attention, it might cause a lot of huge accidents that will happen. So by using AI, just look at the back, and we'll be able to understand the gesture of the person. If that person is not falling asleep, is not paying attention, and all this data can be extracted. At the same time, we can also look at like who is like underneath this lifting zone here. So when people's workers are entering these specific areas, then we can send an alert to the operators as well. So for the customers that who try AI in construction, especially the safety applications, their feedback is that it can avoid 90%, 95% accidents that it happens. And also because having this being avoided, then each fatal cost that will cost them $1 million USD can be avoided. So let's move on to talk about other important modules. Another important module, which is productivity module. For AI, how we try to measure the productivity is basically using video analytics again. So here's an example, like if you having a cameras which is adjacent to this construction site, which is in high resolution, and we are just taking a snapshot of the construction site maybe in every hours or in every day. And using AI, we have a special technique called the pattern recognitions. We be able to understand like which area under this construction site is like implementing which construction process. So here is 3 typical construction process: rebar, formwork, and concrete. And by just automatically mapping the size of this area is implementing concrete, then we can do that simple calculations and update the construction managers this construction progress status. And also at the same time, by using these very high resolution cameras, we can understand also, we can count the number of workers actually in different zones as well. So this gives another data set to the construction managers that how many people, how many workers are actually working there. Is actually a very indirect approach to measure productivity as well. So, and also give them another insights to better allocate the human resources. And here is the examples like how we track the workers. And some of the, even like if you have a drone today, which is quite popular today, and to suit the whole construction site areas using drone, having a high resolution cameras mounted. And the videos can be extracted and also analyzed by AI as well. So if you want to count the number of workers, you want to count the number of different big machinery actually working at that specific time during the drone flying on the sky, then you can post-process those videos afterward. And also some application would be also deployed for training up the workers for some specific skills of their works as well. So by using a technique called the skeleton model, we understand the gesture of those workers. If they are not performing in the right gestures, then we can send them alert, give them advice, give them suggestions to how to correct their gesture. And also we have the modules which is like called the machinery. So what we can look at is actually different big machinery and vehicles in the construction site. And for scenarios like this is what a typical construction process called a soil removal in a construction site. Just having one camera looking at this area here, we can extract many meaningful data. For example, we can extract the ID of the dump truck. This is a dump truck. We can identify the type of soil is being removed. We can identify the car plate numbers as well to identify which car coming in and out. We can identify if the covers is being closed before it exits the site. This is just trying to comply with those environmental departments requirements. And also we can have like several different cameras like looking at the car view and also the floor to understand if those areas is being cleaned properly before the truck exits. So in just one scenarios like this, there's many different AI applications that you can use to extract meaningful data. And lastly would be like the materials module. So I just gave an example like the dump truck can go into a construction site and you just basically using cameras to understand what materials are being delivered. But also at the same time, you can identify any illegal dumpings of the construction waste in the construction site, right? Not so sure, yeah. So it really reduce a lot of like human monitoring process, because usually if you have a cameras that looking at those specific areas, you still need humans to go through all the videos every day. And it takes a really long time to just extract to understand like when it happens for this kind of like illegal dumping activities. But using AI, everything become automated. So today, if you have like 100 different cameras in all the different locations, using AI to process would be just reducing a lot of like man hours for the human workers. And also some environmental protection you can also do. Let's say waste classifications, if the workers are dumping wrong trash or waste into this kind of like a specific container that containing those construction waste, then we can easily using cameras to identify as well. So just like a summary, like for the clients using productivity, they find that using AI, they can save at least like 20% of the cost saving from the human monitoring, from better allocating the manpowers, but also 30% delays as well, because we give a lot of the real-time alert, so they have like a very speedy data that they collect for the real-time status, and then they can push a lot of the decision faster. They can push a lot of like the process faster. So lastly, because under the COVID in construction, especially in Singapore, I think there's a lot of like construction sites are suffering, and we have different AI developments based on the COVID situation, such as the face mask detection and also social distancing detections as well. So just summarizing like what AI can do again, it is like everything relating to extracting meaningful data. And this meaningful data eventually is going to combine with a BEAM model. So the construction industry are promoting heavily on BEAM model, because everything they want to be digitized in a way that it can be presented in 3D with the time, so that when you are doing the design, everything can be based on the 3D models to track on different things, the materials, the delivery times. And using AI would be kind of like a merge and extra layers of data that on that 3D model. So I think it would be a perfect fit like to combine with the BEAM. And the industry is like moving forward in further with AI and BIM as what we see so far. One is we call the digital twin, right? So digital twin, when you applying to construction industry, it means that you have the design being digitized with the BIM, but also you have the real-time status that you want to get the data being collected in the real-site environments, because you want to exactly understand what's going to happen. And these data can be collected with the IoT devices, can be collected with the AI technology through video analytics that we just mentioned. And second part, reinforcement learning. So a lot of the iterations that it happens eventually, you would try to have the data and try to improve throughout the process. And the best way to do it is actually using AI as well, because all this data after you collect, and you can bring the AI models to train, to predict, to learn all the errors that it happens before, and then just giving you a better prediction next time. Third would be a more efficient design, right? So in a BIM model, there will be a lot of crashes on those designs, like you have like a pipe, you have a ducting, which crashes with your building structure. And having AIs to identify all this kind of thing and then give you alert would speed up the whole design process a lot faster. And lastly, of course, if you want to move truly autonomous construction, then you must require AI and BIM model to work very closely together, because you need to understand exactly what happened. You need to understand what you need to do, because the design data are guiding the machines or the construction progress to work. So we see these are the three major pillars for the construction industry moving forward. And in terms of the technology, one is the BIM, second would be the geographic data called GIS. And so these two data will be very important to support the whole thing. IoT and AI will be more the capitalizing and the real site, job sites, dynamic data set, and dynamic data that happen really like real-time environments. And so of course, let's talk about some barriers. The barriers in the industry, of course, we still lack of the knowledge of the AI, very lack of talents, I think, not only in Singapore, but everywhere around the world. AI is not like perfect, so it can just do limited stuff like in different time. So we need to understand all these limitations to deploy the solution. But the good sign is that there are more and more technologies that we can deploy. For example, 5G and robotics. These are the things that I think it would accelerate the developments of AI as well moving forward. So that's all my presentation today. I'm just moving on to the Q&A section. So anyone, please feel free to ask me any question if you have for the AI in construction.
Thank you, Gary, for the sharing. Please feel free to ask Mr. Gary Ng anything to do with the presentation that you might want to know. This session is recorded, so it will be posted in the competition.space website and also the IBDC 2021 website. So you can actually revisit back all these links, the YouTube links later. Gary, how can they contact you if they have any other questions for you?
Yes, so they can feel free to just visit our website, or feel free just drop us like any message there, and then we can. And this is like I'm just giving you the QR code to visit our website. So it's www.viact.ai, right? And you can email me as well, and I can share my email address. So it's gary.ng@viact.ai. So just feel free to email me if you have like further questions on how to apply AI in construction.
Okay, that's great. Just curious, Gary, where is this machinery, where is this anti-collision thing taken? Where's this picture taken from?
And
yeah.
So
is it local? Is it in the local construction site?
Yeah, so most of the pictures that you see there are real projects that we already deployed in Asia. So some of the entries from Hong Kong, some are actually in Taiwan, some are in Japan, and some China as well. So yeah, so as you see, like some example we give there, maybe we
Yeah.
are not using the real construction site, but most of the application we mentioned already deployed there for years time.
Sure. So they say when people walk in this area, so that means there will be some kind of a signal or a sound that alerts the is that how it's actually
Yeah.
alerting? Yeah.
So there would be two part. One is real-time alerts that you want to avoid those accidents for the workers, right?
Mhm.
So you will have like the real-time like sun alert or light alert, like for example, that to trackers actually on site. And those usually require more real time. So it has to be very instant, very low latency,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And the other set would be alert and data and log data that can share with your manager so that they can prevent this kind of events will happen again, right? So those would be like dashboards that you want to show, data that you want to collect for further analyze through the cloud platform.
Okay, so I assume that there will be no other further questions. Well, if there is, you can always contact Mr. Gary Ng through his email or his website, yeah.